Welcome to part 2 of the iTWO costX training video series. In part 2, we will explore the workbook side of iTWO costX, including live links, rates, codes, phraseologies, and constants, plus the standard and custom report writers. Let's start off by looking at the task pane. We are currently in the workbook view, as opposed to the dimension view. Under the Workbooks tab, we have a list of workbooks that have been created as examples. Then, in this lower section, we have multiple tabs containing information we can use in our workbooks. The tabs include dimension groups, dimensions, codes, constants, workbook values, phraseologies, values, and rates. For this example, we have already populated some of them with various folders and data. In the workbook itself, we have fixed columns available: code, description, quantity, unit, rate, subtotal, factor, and total. Then we have multiple spare columns, which we call user columns. You can rename these columns and use them for any spreadsheet analysis that you may want, or use them to add notes or codes against workbook items. The beauty of the iTWO costX workbook is that it's not pre-formatted to any specific measurement system, and you can set it up to suit however you want to work. It's very similar to Excel in this way. In fact, there is a lot of Excel functionality that we can use in these spreadsheets. We also have the ability to copy and paste between iTWO costX and Excel, which saves a lot of time when first setting up. Furthermore, we have the option of importing a workbook from Excel. Now, if we take a look at this workbook, which has been populated with information, we can see that the number values are in 3 main colors: black, blue, and green. A black figure means that it has been manually typed into the workbook. iTWO costX supports many spreadsheet functions, from simple calculations to complex if statements. A blue figure indicates that there is some information on the level below. Within the iTWO costX workbook, hierarchies exist which allow the user to better order their information. We can drill down up to 10 levels. This particular level is the summary level, and all the subtotals are blue, meaning that the build-up is underneath. Let's click down into substructure. Now we can see a detailed breakdown of all the items that make up the summary figure. Each main sheet, also called a cost sheet, has both quantity sheets and rate sheets available. We can also drill down into these sheets to see the various items that make up the particular item. Up at the top here, we can see a summary of the levels that have been drilled down into. To roll back to the top summary sheet, simply press this arrow. Live links are one of the most important time-saving features of iTWO costX. A green figure in the quantity column means that there is a live link to the dimension view. This means that the quantity is directly connected to the takeoff and the drawing. To add in a live link, we can go to the Dimension Groups tab here, which shows the dimensions that we've measured. Select the quantity we want, and then just drag and drop the figure in. When we drag and drop a figure, it brings up this Add Quantity window, which gives us the option to choose which of the quantities associated with that dimension group we want to apply. In this way, we can use one dimension group in multiple different ways, meaning that we don't have to measure something multiple times. We could use the same dimension group for flooring, skirting, painting of the walls, and more. Once the figure is in the workbook, the live link has been established. Let's take a closer look. If we select this green quantity and then select Show Source, it can actually take us to the place on the drawing where this quantity has been measured from. If we make a change to the measurement, such as deleting this particular dimension here, we can see that the dimension group value has changed. And then if we switch back to the workbook view, the workbook value has changed too because of those live links. This powerful feature means we don't have to update all figures manually when we make a change in the measurement, and it keeps workbooks fully up to date with the quantity takeoff. A green figure in the rate column means there is a live link to the inbuilt rate library. Again, this has been dragged and dropped from the rates pane over here. We can again show source of the particular rate, and it will take us to the rate item and its associated build-up. iTWO costX allows the user to create an inbuilt rate library to which rates can be live linked. These rate libraries can either be built up manually or imported as an Excel file. To add a new rate item, simply right-click in the Rates tab and choose Insert Rate. From here, select the library where you want to insert the rate, then fill in the information such as item code, location, description, and unit of measure. For a simple rate item, just type the value in the rate field. Composite rate items can be created by clicking on the green sheet. This rate includes labor, material, and equipment costs, which can be adjusted by the user and updated. Additional rate properties can be added and factored into the rate as well. Rates can be copied over and revised by right-clicking on a similar rate, choosing Copy Rate, and adjusting the desired fields to reflect the new description and the new rate. The way that the rate library is live linked to the estimate is especially useful because just by updating the rate once in the rate library, it will automatically update anywhere that it has been linked in your workbooks, keeping all figures up to date. This saves so much time as it means you don't have to go looking for each instance of where the rate is repeated and updated manually. To import rate libraries from Excel, use the Import button. The imported rate library will be displayed in the Workbook View panel. So now we've seen that we can not only live link the workbook to our dimension groups, but also our rates. Within iTWO costX, we can easily set up a template with all these live links to allow for even faster and easier measurement. So, if we go to create a new project and building, we can simply base our new building on the selected template that we already have. Then, when we open the new building, we can see it contains a set of dimension groups and 2 workbooks based on the template. The dimension groups and workbooks are all zeroed out, as there's no drawing in the project yet, and therefore no takeoff. However, in the workbook, we see all rates and quantities have green zeros, which denotes the live link between dimensions and workbooks that we previously created. Therefore, if we just add the drawing that we want to the new project, and then take some measurements like so, we'll find those live links will appear. Click the Recalculate Workbook button to update and refresh the workbook. And now, we have a completed workbook for our project. This ability to use a template is useful as it means we don't have to redo each project from scratch. We can also base new projects on existing or previous projects in the same way. So now we've seen how great iTWO costX is at generating a complete estimate in no time at all. There are also plenty of other helpful features to help build your estimate, such as coding. Coding can be used to filter or sort a workbook into different formats. For example, switching between elemental or trade format. Codes can be added into the user columns by dragging and dropping from the code library, or they can also be input manually. Here we can see that labor, plant, and material codes have been used to create a labor, plant, and material analysis. We can see a more detailed breakdown by drilling down. In iTWO costX, we can use multiple codes at the same time to do a sort. For example, looking at this level here, we can see there is a trade analysis on the top level. Then on the second level, there is a labor, plant, material analysis. And then on the third level, this is where all the detailed working is. Another great functionality of codes is that we can use them to sort a workbook using finance codes and then export to Excel for use in an accounting package that accepts a CSV file. This means that codes are extremely useful when utilized in iTWO costX. Now, let's take a look at the phraseologies and constants tabs. These are other tools that help us create a more complete estimate. Firstly, we'll look at phraseologies. Phraseologies are used as descriptions for items in a workbook, typically used when the descriptions are required to be in a prescribed format, such as to accord with a standard method of measurement. Clients can download several different iTWO costX compatible phraseologies on TechWeb. Once we've imported a phraseology into iTWO costX, we can put required items into the workbook. Simply drag and drop into place. Additionally, if we want to build up a detailed description, we can hold the Control key and click multiple items. Then, drag and drop the text into the workbook. Each item will be placed on a separate line in the workbook. If we want multiple items combined into a single description, we can select the multiple items as before, move to the destination cell, hold the Alt key, then move the cursor slightly to compress cells into one, and click to release. We can also change the separator character, which is by default a space if required. Constants are also useful and are often used for roof pitch factors or steel weights. We can either import constants from Excel files or insert our own in System Administration. They can easily be dragged and dropped into the workbook to be applied to a certain figure. There are also plenty of other great features in the iTWO costX workbook. For example, notes can easily be added in, like so. There are a variety of great tools and buttons available at the user's disposal, making the iTWO costX workbook a powerful tool. So now we've seen how to use the iTWO costX workbooks. To add data into the workbook, it is possible to export and import files prepared in various external applications. If we click the Export button under the Workbook tab, we can see that there are several different formats that we can choose to export the workbook in. Excel is a useful format for exporting, so let's use it as an example here. Select the workbook and choose Export Workbook to Excel. Then save the file to the desired location. Open the file in Excel, and we can see that the workbook is reproduced on a single worksheet tab, and the data is inserted as active formulas. Alternately, if we click the drop-down menu of the Add button, we can see there are a variety of different files we can import from various external applications. All these import and export options show how iTWO costX can easily interface with other existing systems. Once the workbook is fully costed, we can then use our integrated report writer to create a detailed report. This allows us to print out information from the workbook and present it in a professional manner. iTWO costX comes with a number of standard reports preloaded. These can easily be altered to suit your requirements. For example, if we open this elemental summary, we can then alter or change the columns, add custom logos, or hide columns or information that we don't want other clients to see. From here, we can create a full report. iTWO costX also contains a full customizable report writer where you can edit reports as required for your outputs. Please refer to the iTWO costX Custom Reports Guide for more information. System administration is used to set up and edit the central system database. Changes made here are system-wide and seen by all network users. Here we can insert or edit a project and create a list of locations. Standard dimension groups can be created, and the option is set to copy them to each new building by default. Zones can also be inserted in system administration. These can be used to organize and categorize the dimensions within the estimate into user-defined groups for various pricing purposes. These zones could include floor level, location, function, classification codes, start and end dates, phases, and more. Dimensions can be categorized into up to 8 different zones. The project-specific zones will appear above the view window while in the dimension view. This instruction room has been categorized into 2 different zones, third floor and west wing. Similarly, this office on the second level floor plan has been categorized into the second level and north wing. Project-specific zones can be added by going to Project Properties, clicking into the Zones tab, and choosing a zone in which to add the new zones. Fill in the name column with the desired zone name, and then click Update. The workbook view can also be modified according to the user-defined zones. Double-clicking on the workbook opens the Workbook Properties window. You can then choose the zones by which you wish to view your estimate, and then click Update. Alternatively, you can move all of the zones into the selected column on the right to view all zones in the entire estimate, and remove any zones you wish to leave out. When the estimate is updated, only the selected zones will be calculated. The Units of Measure section holds typical abbreviations for units of measurement and allows the calculation and display rounding to be set individually for each one. As mentioned before, code libraries, constants, phraseologies, and rate libraries can all be set up in System Administration under the Costing tab or imported from a CSV file. Finally, the Values section can contain any numerical amount that we wish to reference in the workbook, which can be inserted here or imported from a CSV file. This concludes our video on Part 2 of the iTWO costX training video series, focusing on iTWO costX's workbook features.